For this next section, we are going to have a lot of notation, starting with this symbol right here. This equal sign with the little tilde above it is the symbol that means that two things are congruent. So our task is to identify all pairs of congruent corresponding parts and then write a congruent statement. So we're going to use this symbol for each congruence statement. All right. So we notice that there are some markings right here that indicate which angles are congruent to which angles over here. So we have angle B with one arc and angle Z with one arc over here. So we have angle B is congruent to angle Z. That is our first congruent statement. There's going to be a lot of these. Angle A and W both have 2, so angle A is congruent to angle W. Angle C and angle Y both have 3 arcs, so angle C is congruent to angle Y. And angle D and X both have 4 marks, so angle D is congruent to angle X. Now let's take a look at the sides. If these two shapes are congruent, which they are right here, we have each side with a corresponding congruent side in the other triangle. Now let's pay attention very carefully with the markings right here. So let's mark this going from 1 to 2. A to B both have 1 and 2. So let's take a look. This one has 1 to 2 right here. So that is the side that corresponds with it in between the angles with 1 and 2 arcs. So we have AB. AB is congruent to WZ. WZ. Remember the notation from chapter 8 here. We're going to go through each one of those. BC goes from 1 to 3. So BC. So we're looking for the side that goes between the angle with 1 arc and 3, which is YZ right here. So BC is congruent to YZ. Don't forget the segment symbol above those. So we have BC is congruent to YZ. Let's do AD going from 2 to 4. 2 to 4, that would be right here. So AD is congruent to, the one from 2 to 4 is WX. And our last side, CD and XY are going from 3 to 4, 3 to 4. So CD is congruent to XY. All right. Our last part of this is to create a new congruent statement for the two shapes right here. So we have ABCD and WZXY before. Let's call this a new name right here. So instead of starting at A, let's call it BADC. BADC. Now there is one very important thing with the notation. These points are going to come in the same order that they correspond with these right here. So B has 1 arc. Z has 1 arc over here, so Z is going to come first because we wrote the B first right here. A corresponds with W, so W is going to come next. D corresponds with X, so X is going to come next. And C, lastly, corresponds with Y, so Y is going to be our last one. So this is a new name for this congruent statement right here. Equivalent statements, this polygon just has a new name. Let's take a look over here at some triangles. We're going to use congruence to fill out some missing pieces of information on these. Our task overall is to figure out what these measures right here are. The measure of angle M and the measure of the segment from Y to Z, which is right here. These two triangles, we are told, are congruent. So we have just a few pieces of information from each of these. We're going to fill out that information on the corresponding part in the other triangle to see if we can finish it out. All right, so we know that X corresponds with M over here, so M has this same measure, which is 33 degrees. And we know that N right here corresponds with Y, so Y has a measure of 124 degrees. I do not know what that third measure is yet, so we're going to have to figure out what makes those add up to 180 degrees like we did before. So 33 plus the 124 plus the missing angle right here should add up to 180 degrees. 33 plus 124 is 157. We'll subtract away that 157 to figure out that this missing angle has a measure of 23 degrees. So this is 23 degrees, and this one is also 23 degrees. Now let's take the sides. We have LN. LN corresponds over here with YZ. So this has a measure of 12 units. That means this also has a measure of 12 units. NM. NM corresponds with XY. That's over here. So this has a measure of 8 units. And I do not know what the measure of this last one is. That's okay. We have the information that we need for right now. So the measure of angle M, we now just look at our diagram, is 33 degrees. The measure of YZ is given right here. It's 12 units. And we've answered both of those questions. I could ask you about a bunch of different parts of this, so just pay attention to which part of the triangle you're tasked with finding out, and then you'll be finished. Thank you.